Mark,
Shane, what are you doing? How are you?
Oh, sorry. It's all good.
What's on the agenda for today?
So, I want to talk to you today about something that one of our bowlers has actually brought up to me, which is a fantastic question, which is about practicing with a purpose.
Okay.
And in particular, targeting practice.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so you know that we all play on the lanes a lot, and it's all about, you know, breaking down a lane properly and make sure you're hitting your mark and your break point accuracy and that sort of thing, which, as you may know, is quite hard sometimes.
It can be. It can be
really, really hard. And, you know, someone came up to me and they're like, how do you practice targeting? How do you practice your foul line drills? What's the difference between your physical game and your mental game and that sort of thing? So, take us away. Let's start with...
Amazing questions.
Let's start with, like, you know, foul line drills.
Foul line drills are fundamental. They, you know, you look at Verity Crawley, fine example. She posts 2-3 times a week how she goes about her practice sessions and her squads. And foul line drills are so important. You literally stand at the line, practice your swing and your release, and then you'll work your way back. Show you a little bit here about what the idea is behind a foul line drill. You quite literally set yourself up with where you would like to finish or where you'd like to be. Obviously not too far right if you're a right-hander, because when you're practicing you don't want to be silly. You're just here, you're out of the way. Anything that happens more than 5 feet down the lane really doesn't matter. This is all to do with making sure that you're upright at the line, making sure you've got the right knee bend, making sure you've got the right sort of posture, your shoulders are facing the right way. Because some people can, you know, once they finish their approach, some people can be here and then fall off a shot, some people can be there and then sort of facing the wall when they've released it, and that's going to all affect where the ball goes down the lane. So what you want to try and do is, for your foul line drills, is just have here, make sure you've got the right knee bend, make sure your trailing leg is out of the way, and then you've got the ball there, and you are just swinging and releasing. You can work on your posture and your release as well. But it's for me, it's a really, really good one for my release.
Okay.
I do something slightly different when I want to work on posture at the line and my release. So when I try and work on posture, I'm just there, I've got the ball, and you're swinging the ball sort of just 1, 2, 3, and then you release. And that sort of works on, even there, I had no ball. You're working on your leg strength, core strength, and just upper body, just to make sure that everything is squared to the foul line.
So what he's saying is, if you take out the steps and you really concentrate on that foul line drill, you can work on the core essentials you need with your swing, and then you can incorporate back to where you would normally approach. Because if you can get that right, that will definitely help you in the long run. Mark's absolutely right. We've got a couple of bowlers. I myself fall off my shot a lot. And you've got a couple of bowlers who, when they go to take their swing, you know, say I'm looking at the lane, they'll finish and their foot will be facing a complete opposite way.
I used to be bad for that when I was a junior, believe it or not. That was one thing that I had coached out of me really, really vigorously. I used to slide, and then I would slide, but my foot would go like that. It wasn't every shot, but that then... you're not facing that way. You can't be, because your leg is automatic. Your leg is over that way. So you can't. So already you're losing the ball that way. So you're having to then, with your shoulder rather than your wrist or your arm, save it.
So one of the steps we then incorporate into our practice with a purpose is foul line drills, which will be then your release, your knee bend, your footwork, just at that point, at the point of release.
Exactly. And I've got a separate. I've got a separate sort of step for my release if I'm trying to work on my release. Not many people use it, but I find it helps me a lot more, or concentrate a lot more on my wrist, my hand and my fingers, rather than any other aspect. So I will go down on the approach and just down on one knee with the ball down on the approach, and then just have the ball swing 1, 2, and 3, and then I can really work on my release at the foul line. People like Verity and pros who sort of demonstrate their foul line drills, they'll be standing upright, but it's what's comfortable for you that works, that means you can work on that one aspect of.
And what are you looking for off your hand? Is there something, so when you release that ball, when you're doing that drill, what from the ball are you looking for? Because I take it if the ball hooks into the gutter early down there, that doesn't matter.
That's it. It really doesn't matter. When you're doing foul line drills, 1-step drills, 2-step, whatever, anything other than scoring, it really doesn't matter where the ball goes down the lane. Main thing you're looking for is nice, consistent ball motion. You can see on the ball what it's doing. Obviously, you don't want to go in the gutter too early, because then that will affect it. You want to see it on the lane for as long as possible, up to 30, 40 feet down the lane, because you can then see if you've got a nice rotation on the ball, you can see what the ball is doing down lane when it sort of gets to a break point, how it then snaps off. So it's, because you're not going to be throwing it as quickly either, obviously. It's more deliberate what you're doing here. But it's very, very important to try and do that twice a week if you can. Just for 30 minutes at a time. Then you will be much, much more consistent in that release when you come to have your games, and 4 or 5 games. You'll be stronger as well, because all of a sudden you go from 3 games on a Monday to yesterday was county trials. You play in 6, and you after 3 or 4, you're thinking, I'm a bit tired, or my wrists tired, my arms are a little bit tired, my legs are hurting. It's difficult to incorporate, your strength into longer aspects of the game when you don't necessarily do it very much. And that's where practice would help with stamina.
So that's foul line drills, which Mark's demonstrated really, really well. And now we're going to go on to targeting. So we have a nice little gizmo over here, which I am actually going to go and get, whilst Mark is going to tell you about targeting. Targeting
is really important as well. So obviously on the lane, you've got the dots about 12 feet up. You've got about maybe 8 feet up. You've got the arrows, which are 15 feet up the lane. And then there's nothing further than that to target. You've got your break point, in quotes, which you should roughly know where that is, but you can't really necessarily target that. But you can use so much to aid and to help you with your targeting, even from the approach, even on your steps of the approach, as Shay puts the targeting tool we've had built here. Even on your approach, you can put down pieces of tape to help you step in the same way, which will then help with where you are at the foul line consistently, which will then help with where you're putting the ball every time. But again, you can use little pieces of electrical tape, and you can put pieces down side by side, just every 4 feet if you'd like. You can stagger it, and then you can see the ball go through each step. One thing that I have, one coach did to me once was when I was practicing lofting. I had my coach put my hoodie down on the foul line and said, right, just throw the ball. And that's something that something that's not going to break, but something you don't really want to be hitting with a bowler ball.
Absolutely not.
And that, they only put it at the foul line, maybe a foot further, and said, right, loft it over that. And then that just gets the strength up for that kind of that a little bit different side of targeting, because it's obviously you're practicing a bit of loft. But targeting in itself, as you can see, the tool we've got down lane there, the 2 black things that are coming down from the apparatus we've got, we can have those spread as far or as close together as possible. They're all manual to move. And then you can have that, again, set up, whether you want it 10 feet or 50 feet down the lane. You can have that set up wherever you like, and ball goes through both. And then if your ball hits either side, you've missed. So try again.
So one thing I found really useful with our targeting tool here, that's available for anyone to use, just come in and ask us in the centre, is you then change your positioning on the approach. So you move left and right, and you always try and hit your mark. That way you're working your targeting from different steps in the approach, from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 25, and then you try and hit your break point. So it's a really good break point targeting tool. Say you put a 40 foot pattern down, and maybe you put it, 40, 39 foot down the lane, and then you work on hitting that break point from different aspects of the lane. So then and then ball control comes in, and hand position, and that sort of thing, that can then all help with your break point as well, which is a really, really good tool that we offer here as well. That's something that not many other centres do. And it will really, really help with the targeting in the long run, because you may see a lot of people pull their shots inside, and it's just because you're not getting the fundamentals.
Visual. Yeah, exactly. And it's something that in tournaments you can't really adjust to, or league you can't really adjust to, because you're thinking, right, I know what I'm doing, and I don't want to do anything drastic, or I can't change anything drastic because maybe you don't have that coach behind you, or maybe you haven't got the tools to work with. You're in competition, so you can't change there and then what you're doing. But what you can do is, if you've got a notebook or even just notes on your phone, a great thing I would suggest is to write down what you think may have gone wrong in that league session, in that tournament. Write it down, come in the following week, or maybe write down a couple of weeks worth of tournament notes, come in within a week or 2 weeks, and work on those notes that you've given yourself. Because if you can critique yourself, then you're already onto a winner, because you know what you're doing wrong, so you can fix it. If you don't know what you're doing wrong, then that's when you need someone standing behind you. That's when you need that coach to come and stand and watch you for half an hour to actually think, yeah, that's where you're going on, or that's where you're going wrong. That's what you're doing here. That's where you should be doing this. But if you can think, oh, you know, I wasn't quite, you know, my shoulders were a bit tight, or I was missing right constantly or left, or, you know, just even wrong ball. If you know what you think you've done, you can adjust to that yourself. You can come in and have a practice session for an hour or two, and you can work on that, which is really, really big.
But what we're trying to stress is practice with a purpose. You know, the advice that Stevie T has given me and Rory this week is to buy a notebook. You know, so make adjustments, make those notes about what we're doing wrong, and then bring that into your practice, because you need to be practicing with a purpose. Throwing balls for high scores during practice isn't always necessarily the best tool.
No, it's good to have that day.
100%.
Like I had a tournament a few months ago, didn't bowl very well, so I came in, I put an easy shot down, and I just threw balls for a high score. It was great. You do need that every now and then.
Positivity.
Because you need to get yourself back into, actually, I do know what I'm doing, snap out of it. Then from that, go into a practice session maybe, because you're in a better mindset.
Yeah.
Which goes back to one of our other videos, obviously saying about mindset and how you can stay positive within a game. That's a big thing. If you have a really, really bad tournament one Sunday, one weekend, you know, or even a bad league night on a Thursday, come in on the Friday, put an easy pattern down, you know, shoot 750 for 3 games, move on, you know, and then go into a practice session, and you're already feeling better about yourself. You've already reassured yourself that you can bowl as you think you can. So you go into that practice session feeling really good about yourself.
Yeah.
But notebooks are definitely a really good thing to have, because even if you write down what pattern you're bowling on, what arrow you're throwing through, where, you know, this might not be the same every single time you bowl because you're bowling with different people. But if you write down what you're doing and when you're doing it on specific patterns and with which ball, that'll help you in the future, because if you haven't bowled on a pattern for 2 years, and then someone comes to you and say, right, we're bowling on Big Ben this weekend, you can go, oh, hang on a minute.
44-foot Big Ben.
Right, fine. I've bowled on that before. This is what I did then. Might be slightly different now if it's a couple of years, but right, you can look at that and think, right, I did well on that. Yeah, I can do this. Whereas if you think, oh my God, when did I last bowl on that? Oh, no idea. And then you're in your mind, you're thinking, I don't know what to do on this. You're already at an advantage from other people if you've got that book to look at and you're already in a positive place going onto the lane.
Agreed. So we're talking about practice with a purpose, and we don't want to make this video too long, because we could go on about practice for a very long time. So we're sticking with the 2 things today, which is your foul line drills and your targeting. Okay. There are other segments we could go into a little bit later, you know, about footwork and load positivity, keeping your mindset, loads of different things. But we're going to stick to those 2 things for the time being. And the big thing is, what we want to offer is, we also recommend you video yourself when you're bowling, because it's very difficult, especially when you're bowling on your own, to understand what you're doing wrong.
Exactly. It's easy for a coach to say, this is what you're doing wrong. But if a coach says to you, this is what you're doing wrong, here you go. Certainly for me, I always found that was much, much more helpful. That, you know, I used to have my 3-hour practice sessions videoed. I used to have my 3-hour practice sessions recorded, and then we would sit down afterwards, or the first time the week after, and go through them. And that was a big, big help, because you can see what you're doing wrong. You're not just being told what you're doing wrong, but you can see it, and you can put those 2 together. You can put, you know, the coach saying this and the video, marry it up and think, yep, actually, I can see it.
Seeing is believing.
100%.
Well, we're going to leave it there. We've got a lot more videos coming out this week, so please, you know, follow on what's going on. We've also got the live stream for the Triple Crown at the weekend.
Definitely. Big event this week that I haven't forgotten anymore. So March 27th to the 30th. Please, if you're in or around or at a loss for something to do, come in and watch some of the best bowlers that these countries have got to offer. From Thursday is the opening ceremony, then from Friday through to Sunday, bowling, a lot of bowling. So come in, see what it's all about.
Bowling.
Nothing but bowling.
Well, subscribe, like our channel, and stay tuned for more content.
Brilliant. See you soon.
Stroud Bowl out. Arr.